Hey, welcome to the Sales Dojo Podcast special episode. This week, me and Leon are joined all the way from the Bay Area, Silicon Valley itself, by Usman Sheikh. Usman is CEO of XIQ. They're an AI-powered revenue growth engine. Usman, we like every single word in that sentence. Maybe not AI. The jury's out yet, whether it's going to come back and kill us all, but we like all the other words in there, yeah? Welcome to the Sales Dojo Podcast.
Thank you so much, Leon. Good to be here.
Yeah, really nice to have a chat with you, Usman. We'll jump straight into it. Everybody listening now, if you're driving to a meeting, commuting to your office in the morning, maybe you work from home, you should be making sales calls, but instead you're listening to the Sales Dojo podcast. Could you just surmise really XIQ, AI-powered revenue growth engine, sounds amazing. Could you just give us a little insight? What exactly is it that you guys do over there in Silicon Valley? Usman?
Yeah, great question. And today in the sales process, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of data that we need to know about individuals that we're selling to, a lot of information about companies. This comes in extremely handy when we're talking about long B2B sales cycle, which has multiple decision makers. So by AI, we don't mean artificial intelligence, we mean augmented intelligence. And for salespeople to be competitive and to be able to personalize, they need to have access to this all information, not only just access to information, but to synthesized insights. And they need to have it through the entire demand generation, negotiation, and sales cycle. And then actually, even after the sales cycle, in the customer service cycle. So we call this the customer engagement lifecycle. And what XIQ does is augments intelligence for salespeople throughout this whole process at each and every step of the way. So for individuals, we can map out their psychometric personality type, and we can predict how to communicate with them. And with companies, we can even build business cases. We can identify the latest sales triggers, when to reach out to talk to these companies. And for demand generation, XIQ's AI is actually able, we use generative AI, and we're actually able to build demand generation campaigns that are highly targeted and personalized for the individual that will be receiving. So XIQ is one framework, one infrastructure, one cloud platform, which does all of that. And thereby doing so, it provides greater intelligence and speeds up the sales cycle and makes it easy for salespeople to gain access to critical information they need at every step of the sales cycle. That's what we mean by AI-driven revenue growth engine.
Beautifully concise. Okay, so I'm working with the company at the moment, Usman, where they are looking at negotiating. They every 3 years to 5 years, big contracts come up. They need to renegotiate. They're not the only person in that space. They know the team coming to negotiate their customer like to them. They've done the prep. They've done the homework. They're going to negotiate hard. What's really interesting from what you've said there is, and if I've heard this right, your tool would be able to research and maybe give you a profile on how these people you're going to negotiate with communicate, their communication style. All this stuff's going to give you that really deep insight into how to approach it. If I heard you right there, Usman?
That is absolutely correct. Not only will it gather the information and tell you their personality, their style of communication, and want to be communicated to, it will also transcribe and build out sales calls for you. It will build out a business case. It will build out a pitch that will resonate at a personal level. So one of the questions that we can ask our AI bot, and our AI bot is called Gilroy, is what are the growth opportunities for this person in their company? So if your client has not negotiated for 3 years, the likelihood of people having changed is quite likely. COVID brought about a lot of change in the industry. But even if you know those people, a lot has changed in the last 2-3 years. So being able to come up to speed and being able to direct a conversation directly to the individual that you're talking to can make a big difference. So as I was saying, that one of the questions you can ask Gilroy is, what are the personal growth opportunities for this person, for Chris or Leon? And it will give you an output that will say, these are the personal growth opportunities, and this is how you should frame your question. And by doing so, it furthers my argument or my ability to communicate to my audience. So you're absolutely right. It will predict the personality and present to you a case on how to communicate with them.
So when you're talking about Usman, you're talking about the prospects, opportunities within the business that they're in. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. And it's supremely important that I be able to connect to what's in it for you, my prospect, because I need to really personalize. And just skimming over the surface and saying somebody's a chief marketing officer or a sales officer or a chief revenue officer, and therefore, one size fit all answers apply to them is not correct. If we can somehow the other bring in their own personal motivation and their career path into the discussion, then the likelihood of you succeeding in meeting that becomes significantly higher than those people that are just using a cookie cutter, one size fit all approach. And that's the differentiation that XIQ brings to the market.
I love that a lot, because one of the things that I have a challenge with when prospecting and people are prospecting is when you use someone's past. You went to this school, I see you went to this event, I used to work at this place. You've no idea whether that's a positive or a negative emotion for them. Like, you don't know if it was a good school or they were bullied all the way through school. You don't know if it was somewhere they like working or they got sacked from that job. You don't know if it was a place where they enjoyed their position or they got harassed by the boss. But one thing that's always positive in everybody's mind is their hopes and aspirations for the future. Most people don't think, I really want to have a crap job and a crap life and live in a life of misery. They think, I want to do something really good. So I love the idea of having conversations around hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and what the opportunities are for people. I love the positivity of that.
Yeah, thank you. It's very important, because if I don't understand what's going to be driving you, the likelihood of me being able to tie my objective and goal with your goals is very difficult. And then just having the idea that this is the trajectory that the person is on and will most likely continue based on the industries, the kind of companies, kind of job titles, the duration they've held those job titles, are all very significant factors that tell you which direction this person is going to be driving, and therefore, what are the things out of your solution that will personally impact them and help them grow in their career. And once you can connect those two dots, it becomes significantly easier to then get through to them. Not only convince them, but get through to them initially to make a mark of yourself. And I know that prospects actually like this a lot. They like being personalized. In my civilian life, when I go to see Netflix, there are recommendations that are catered towards my taste, towards my personality. Same way when I order food and so on. But that does not happen in business to business sales these days. It's kind of a one size fit all approach. XIQ aims to change that very significantly and make that ability to do that a lot easier and quicker.
I love that idea. I was out at the weekend and we went into a pub in a small village, and the menu, they just had pub food on a menu on the board, and it was extraordinary. It's just a local country pub in the UK, and it had, say, 10 dishes on the menu, and it was as if every single one had been designed around my favourite things. I could have just sat down and ordered 10 mains and undid me pants so I had a bit more room and just eaten 20,000 calories. Now, a restaurant can't do that. They don't know all the people coming through the door. They can't make it that personal. But if we could make our cold outreach, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here, I'm going to use the word relevant over personal. Feel personals early in the sales process can be a dangerous place to go. We can make that relevant. That's really powerful. The thing that I really like about the sound of this, Usman, and I'd like your Silicon Valley in that world feedback on this. A lot of people we speak to, doommongers, woeist me's, are saying AI is going to take the job of salespeople. If you're a salesperson now, you should be worried. AI is going to come and take your job. From what you're saying, Usman, it sounds more to me like it's going to come and enhance your job if you embrace it. What do you say to people that are touting that AI is going to replace salespeople?
So let's look at the state of sales today. It's stale. Let's face it. The emails you get are the same, borderline rude, because I get a lot of those emails. Hey, Usman, did you read the email from last week? What do you think? There's no title, there's no subject. It doesn't tell me what they were selling last week. And I just get that mail out of the blue. Hey, what do you think? And it's a hey. It's not dear or hi or hello. It's a hey, which is to your point about being relevant versus individual. That's exactly correct, right? So the state of the sales process is that it's become stale. People are not taking the effort to put the relevance into what they're communicating, to do the research, because for each company, each individual, you have to do research. That takes a lot of time, and we don't have time. We just need to go out. And our management is demanding that we send out a certain number of emails, make a certain number of phone calls. So there's a lot of pressure on salespeople in terms of what they have to do. Now, on the one hand, you have prospects that expect that relevance and individualization, but on the other hand, you have people that don't know what they need to say. So AI is not going to remove your job. It's there to collect all that information, make you smarter and faster. It's not going to take salespeople's job. It's going to enhance it and improve it.
I love that. It's good to hear for a lot of salespeople as well. I've met some really good salespeople, but they're not that good at messaging. They're not that good at research. And, once they're in a conversation, they're fantastic. If it gave them this tool to go, look, here would be some great messaging for this person or this company, this would be a good angle to go in at. I think to me that one of the biggest benefits of this sound, like it saves time. There was a stat came out last year. I think it was Salesloft, Salesforce, one of these big data things, that only 32% of a salesperson's time is spent actually selling. Like if you could just increase that to 50%, the change in output would be massive, wouldn't it? And it sounds like it's going there. Usman, we want to learn more about the tool later on. We want to go a bit further down the rabbit hole on some other things now. This is a technology that seems to be growing exponentially. We've gone from virtually no social media in 2006, 2007, in just 20 years to, let's face it, you got Gilroy is the name of your machine. Is that right? I mean, Gilroy.
AI bot, yeah.
Gilroy to me sounds like Hal out of 2001 Space Odyssey. We're there, aren't we? Just need to stick it in Elon Musk's spaceship and off we go. With this rate of increase, not for XIQ, but sales in general, where could you see it being in 5 years' time? How is the world of sales going to look different by 2029?
Yeah, great question. So McKinsey published a report last year, which is the productivity enhancement as a result of generative AI. And they predicted that it'll be $1.4 trillion per year in enhanced sales productivity. Let me repeat that number, $1.4 trillion US in sales productivity. That's where that AI is going to go. It's going to help you become more relevant. It's going to help you become more timely in how you reach out. And it's going to equip you with better arguments. It's going to be able to help you position your solutions to match the opportunities and challenges. And it's going to do it in fractions of seconds. And by doing that, the next generation salespeople that are going to be living and breathing AI are going to be much more comfortable using these kind of tools and operating in an environment that's much leaner, has a lot less headwind, and a lot less cookie cutter template approaches. So it's going to significantly enhance the sales profession. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to reduce stress amongst salespeople. It's also going to change the way managers look at salespeople. And it's also going to change the complexion and type of personality that's going to be selling. The next generation salesperson is going to wear a data science hat as well as a sales hat. And they have to have a lot of ability to look at details and attention to details, something that salespeople in the past have not been good at. So they broad brushstroke a lot of things. And now we have the ability, and that's what's really going to set the difference. Those salespeople that are going to come in with a highly individualized and relevant approach, and those that are using the plain vanilla, one size fit all approach. That's what AI is going to make a difference. And it's going to propel those salespeople using it into the future with less stress, better deal closure and win rates.
See, I love this utopian vision. I love the idea of less stress for everybody. I mean, biggest killer in the world is stress. Here's the challenge I have with it, Usman, is Tech is evolving, as we said, exponentially. If you went back just 100 years, you just wouldn't recognize the world as it is today. But the human brain hasn't evolved for 35,000 years. It's not changed. So how you react to stress, how you react to happiness, passion, aggression, sadness has not changed. We've just got this tech. So when we have this AI that gives us this great messaging, this relevance, this profile breakdown, everything, and we phone somebody up, the second that person answers the phone, all the AI and tech in the world isn't coming to save us because it's two human brains talking to each other. That's not changed for 35 to 100,000 years. So I like looking at it as a tool, and this is where I don't think AI is going to replace the salesperson, is that human interaction hasn't evolved at all. Could you in any way see AI taking over that bit, that two humans having a conversation?
No, I think that sales always, for the 35,000 years you're talking, has been about people trusting and buying from people they trust. And that equation will stay true. What changes is the expectation that prospects have from their sellers. And that expectation is that you should know me. I have a lot of information on that social media out there. You know where I've worked. You know how I respond to things. You know what my sentiment is. All of that is an open book for over 1 billion professionals today. Those are the people that are interacting on LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube and Instagram about work, not about their personal lives, but about work. And therefore, the expectation is that I would have somebody call me who knows all this stuff and has custom tailored a sales page or an approach for me. So what it's good, but at the end of the day, I will have to deliver that page. However, the future salesperson is going to be a different person. It's not going to be the charismatic sports athlete that runs around charming people. It's going to be a person that's going to be very detailed oriented, very fact-filled information, and is serving more like a business partner than a seller. But to your point, the interaction between humans stays the same. AI should be viewed as a tool that enhances your ability to get closer and much more relevant and individualized for that prospect that you're talking to.
Usman, just thinking about the product really right now. So our listeners are going to be listening to this and going, this sounds great. I like the idea of it. Sounds like something I could use. Who's your target market for this product? Are you selling to businesses, or is this, for instance, if there was a sales force of 30 people and there was one seller in that sales force who wanted to use this product, do you sell to the consumer, to the one person market, or do you just sell it, white label it to a business?
We usually sell it as a business to business platform. We have a lot of collaboration built into this platform, whereby sales teams can collaborate about individuals and about buying committees and buying groups. XIQ is one of the first platforms that allows you to model who you're selling to, and it puts them into behavioral categories of doers, coaches, and blockers. This is the first in the industry. And by doing so, we kind of lay the table for how we're going to talk to the different people. Should we be preemptive? Should we be reactive? Should we be proactive in reaching out to individuals? Those are the kind of strategies that our platform lays out. So it is designed for large enterprise play, selling into large enterprise, which have long sales cycle and multiple decision makers. And should an individual want to try it out, we can make that happen. But the design of the platform and the intent of the platform is to make sales teams collectively much more productive.
One of the biggest challenges I see is for sales teams around the world, and I speak to salespeople every week, and their biggest ask to their employer, and these are people, they're hitting quota, they're really burning it, isn't they want more time off, they want a bigger salary, whatever. A lot of them are saying they want an admin assistant. Can you get me a sales admin assistant so I can do more selling, not sitting here doing the CRM, doing the paperwork, doing everything else? Is that an arena that you could see this going into as well, to ultimately create more time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we call Gilroy your 24/7 personal sales assistant. And that's what his or its job is. It's meant to collect all this information from millions of sources where it's humanly impossible for us to go get that information. It ingests that information and it predicts what kind of strategy you should adopt to it. And it does that in seconds. It helps you craft emails, which a good email writer would have taken 20 to 40 minutes. Now, in less than 3 seconds, you can get a fairly good 80 to 85% already there, well-researched, highly relevant, individualized email put together in 10 seconds from what would have taken minimum 20 to 40 minutes to do. And that's the kind of time savings and productivity enhancements that AI can bring to the table. And those personal assistants, they don't take salary, they don't take leave, they work 24/7, and they're nicely available on your mobile phone. So you can dial them from your taxi, or you can dial them from the airport, or you can even look them up while you're waiting for somebody in the reception hall. So super, super powerful concept. And the future of this is that it's going to help you start simulating conversations before you have conversations with your prospects. So you can go in, to answer your question earlier on, it's humans to humans. I will have an idea as to what kind of objections this person may be raising, and also answers in terms of also recommendations in terms of how I should answer those challenges and those objections that that person might bring up. So the personal assistant is a very, very powerful concept, and it's here.
With a 24-hour, don't have to pay admin assistant, they are going to be unionized before you know it. That's how it works. I don't want to go too much into the detail area. I mean, I'm fascinated by it, but from the AI I've used, and I've built certain things with people to try and represent like a digital version of me to answer your questions, etc. It's gone through all my training material. It's gone through all my social media, everything about me online to try and learn about me, to then give a potential answer as if it was myself. Yeah. Is there a danger? And I'm sure this has been thought of. All right, but I'm just interested. Where does it go and learn this information from? Because if it goes to what is in the open forum, people tend to put on a persona, don't they? Like LinkedIn me isn't me, and Insta me isn't really me. But if you really wanted to talk to me, how I am isn't really out there. How does it get around the fact that the true human person isn't in digital format out there to learn from?
Yeah, so great point. So there are two aspects of this. One is as you're saying, your digital persona, the one that you've built to project yourself. And I think that's important, because there's a reason why you've done that as well. You want to be approached and spoken to in a particular way. But there's also factual stuff that's there, which is, where have you worked? What have you studied? What kind of jobs have you done? What are the comments you've written about your jobs? And it's really gleaning through that we can gain a lot of insights into the way people think. We use the DISC methodology. It's a psychometric analysis, behavioral science analysis methodology. You might have heard of Myers-Briggs, or your audience might have heard of Myers-Briggs. It's similar to that. And these tests fairly accurately represent who the individual is, or who the person taking the test is. Well, what XIQ has done is taken that whole concept and moved it into the digital space. And instead of putting words in questions in front of people in those Myers-Briggs or DISC tests, we find words that people are using in the open domain. We tend to stay a little bit less, not biased, unbiased about what they're posting, because I agree with you that when I post, there's a certain way I want to say things and I want people to understand. But still, there are words that I'm using that very much define who I am. For example, there's a word that AI uses today. You will check it out on ChatGPT, delve, DELVE. This is, for me, almost a giveaway that this thing has been written by a chatbot. So I have started to realize, so I will not use words like that in my post, because it's become apparent. And I can also train my engine to say, please don't use those typical words that signify you're giving away the fact that this is written by an AI bot. But the personalization and the ability to mispredict exists. And that's why the human inference is always there. We always want to have that human. But the likelihood of salespeople getting their prospects correct significantly, I would say 80% improves, because 80% of salespeople are not meeting their quota, and they're not meeting their quota because they're not able to connect on the same wavelength with the different decision makers that are involved in the buying cycle today. And this will change quite significantly.
Usman, I'm fascinated by this conversation, and I was when we spoke previously, and I've checked all the stuff out online and stuff like that. Something that just come to me when we were talking before is there any 360 feedback loop on this? So the information is saying that Chris Dawson likes chocolate and he's really into big time thinking, and you should talk to him about this and this and that. Is there any 360 feedback loop to say, oh, that was right, he did like that, he didn't like that, or any 360 feedback to say, based on the information, I used it and we progressed? I'm just wondering where that comes back from, because I'm fascinated by DISC, Myers-Briggs, all of them, but they are assumptions, and sometimes it's difficult to understand if that was correct or not.
Yeah. So there are two parts of it. One is training the algorithm on how to predict the personality. And there we turn purely to behavioral science, because for us, that's really the science part of it, and we want to stick to it. We didn't invent it. It's been around for about 100 years. It's been proven quite effectively. On the other hand, the feedback loop exists for people within a company. That's why we have a collaborative environment. I can build a buyer committee. I can take my meeting notes and I can share it with my team. And then my vice president goes, has a meeting and has a very different opinion. They can very easily put those notes in. Those notes will be automatically shared with your colleagues, not outside your company, but within your company. And you can also move that individual from being a blocker to a coach or to a doer, somebody that can help you based on your actual. How often do we see it? We see it very, very less than 3% of the time. People actually conflict with what is being presented at the moment. And we've had millions of DISC insights that people have, individual DISC insights that people have looked up. So it's fair, and they keep coming back for more. Our numbers keep doubling every quarter in terms of the views that are taking place. And that's because people start relying on it. They find some honesty in it. They go and field test it. First person people usually look up is their spouse or their partner or their sibling, somebody they know. And that's how they build the trust as to whether this is accurate or not. And that feedback loop exists within the company. We don't want to, and the last thing I want to say is that people are inherently biased. I'm really, really biased about myself. I think I'm the smartest, best looking, richest person on planet Earth. Unfortunately, not entirely true, but we can't allow those kind of biases to creep in to assessment about mass assessments about individuals based on proven behavioral science. So we keep the science separate from the negotiation and the sales engagement, where we do allow feedback.
Yeah, I love that, because again, I'm a massive proponent of DISC. I love the idea behind it. My challenge with DISC is often that if I get someone to complete a DISC profile, they answer the questions based on how they want to be perceived. And I know I do it because I'm a yellow influence on DISC, high, and I wish I was a red. And I want to answer to be a red, and I'm fighting every day to be more red than yellow because I want to be the business owner, the sales, all that kind of stuff. But I like the idea of the fact that it doesn't ask someone a question, it looks at what they're doing on social media. So I like the, higher, more authentic take on DISC, I guess.
Yeah, asking people to do self-assessments is not a very honest way, let me put it this way, of getting to know who they are. However, the words they use in public without having a pretense or without having a objective to change their personality to look like something different are much closer to honesty and much closer to who they really are. And that's what we analyze. And that's what we base our assumption on, that instead of me assessing myself, it's a machine looking at what I've said in public media for a long period of time and taking into account how my statements, how my self-descriptions have evolved and changed, how my role has changed, and feeding that also into how my personality could have been effective and what, sense of agency I might have in responding to certain things or not, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, asking people to self-assess is a dangerous, slippery slope.
Yeah, one final note before I let Chris get back on with the questions. I'm terrified that anyone ever finds out how I speak in public. I don't want anyone to find that information out because it could be the death of me.
Where you've been speaking in public.
I'm just talking about the way I speak with my friends rather than the way I speak in front of business colleagues.
Right. Yeah, but I'm more interested in knowing who you are professionally. So I want to understand that. I, appreciate that you have friends and you may speak to them in a different manner, but I'm not a friend of yours. I'm somebody who's trying to sell, and I need to maintain that professional attitude. And there's a persona that you've cast out. I better know that. People don't even look at your LinkedIn. They don't even know where you are before they call you and they start talking to you or what you do. I've had calls like affirming whether I was still CEO of XIQ and that this is a VC calling me up to see if we can buy your company. I was like, dude, if you don't even know who I am and what I do and you don't have that correct, I'm sorry. I don't think you can help my cause a lot, right?
It's interesting how we're kind of being wired for this a bit as well as humans. If you get an advert on social media and it's so irrelevant to your world, you get frustrated with it. Like, why are you targeting me with that? You don't know me, clearly. This is a brand new concept, isn't it? But we are very quickly wiring ourselves to not like irrelevant messages coming to us. I think it's a fascinating world. I don't think you're biased about thinking you're the cleverest, most handsome man in the world, Usman. I just think mathematically, what are the chances the top three in the world are all on the same Zoom meeting together? I mean, it's very, very slim, isn't it? Usman, I think we're going to have you back on at some point every single year for the next 5 years to see how it goes up to that 2029 point. We've talked a lot about tech, AI, the advancement. Want to strip it back. We ask everybody who comes on. You're queuing up, you're in Silicon Valley, Bay Area, fabulous place. You're queuing up for a beverage of your choice in a coffee shop one morning. Could be a latte, Americano, whatever is your drink. In front of you in the queue is a young lady who is on her way to a very first ever sales job. It's her first day ever in sales. She's getting a coffee to calm her nerves or pump her up a bit before she goes. You've got the time it takes for her to get her coffee off the barista, 60 seconds tops, to impart the best bit of sales wisdom you could from your years of experience. What do you tell her, Usman?
Yeah, I'll say preparation is key to success and confidence. Prepare, and preparation will give you the confidence to succeed. Most people fall flat, most salespeople fall flat on their face because they just simply haven't done the preparation. Partially because they haven't bothered investing the time, partially because it's doing research on individuals has become so cryptic and the landscape is so fragmented with information residing on LinkedIn's and Instagrams and Facebooks and X and news and videos that it's humanly become impossible. I'm a salesperson, I'm not a researcher, and therefore I need a break. So I'll tell this young lady, always prepare, get to know the person, try personalizing, not by talking about weather and shared sports interests and stuff of that nature, but try to find objectives and goals of where that person is going. But preparation has to be the key. You cannot show up unprepared, not knowing who you're speaking to. That's a disaster. And if you're prepared, your confidence level will go up. You'll make a much better impression. And then that will have a cascading effect into your future conversations as well.
Hey, there you go. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. We can't change the foundations of everything. I absolutely love that. Usman, I'm going to go over to Leon in a second for his top takeaways. If everybody's just loved this conversation as much as we have and are as fascinated by it as we are, and they want to learn more about yourself, more about XIQ, maybe they haven't got it yet, so they haven't got the bots going out, finding out all about it for them. Where should they go? Where can they find you on LinkedIn? What should they Google? Tell them where to go and look.
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, it's XIQ, INC, XIQ INC. You can just look XIQ Inc., and we'll be the first one that shows up over there. Our website is xiqinc.com. Go there. My name is Usman, U-S-M-A-N, Sheikh, S-H-E-I-K-H. Look me up on LinkedIn. I respond. I connect with a lot of individuals. I like to have a big sales and marketing community around me. That's what I'm building as my set of followers. And anything related to AI at the intersection of business to business, sales and marketing, this would be the junction to visit for you.
Great stuff. Leon, top takeaways for you, pal?
Yeah, I've made loads of notes, but I'm not going to cloud everything with reading loads of my notes back. There's only one line I think that really stands out for me, and that is that £1.4 trillion increase in sales is going to be due to the use of augmented reality. If you're listening to this, don't miss out on your slice of that $1.4 trillion. Catch up with Usman and find out some more about XIQ.
Yeah, that would be a nice little slice of pie. It's been lovely to have you with us, pal. We will leave you to the rest of your day in Silicon Valley. You've been listening to the Sales Dojo podcast. Go and earn that commission. Buy those new shoes. Cheers, everyone.